I am live. I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView of April 4th, 2022. It's the first time I've been on in a week, and I'm really happy to be here. I got put under the weather a little bit. Funny thing was, folks, I wasn't sick. It was the allergies. When we went from rain to sun and all that, I got wiped out with allergies. I was a snot fest, coughing, but no fever, no body aches, nothing like that. And so it wasn't serious, but all your responses, wow, blew me away. I did not know. I think people were being kind. I'm not building my ego up too much, but I did not know some of the people that responded to me on the various boards here actually watched this. So thank you so much, and I will continue to try to be back and doing what we love, which is talking about the Rams. And since I was on last week, the Rams have signed Bobby Wagner. Go figure, right? And I need to clear up something as we talk about that. And that's, I'm not anti Bobby Wagner. I mean, who's anti Bobby Wagner? Everyone. I mean, you gotta love Bobby Wagner. I love Bobby Wagner. I'm glad he's with the Rams. Bobby Wagner versus Troy Reeder. Yeah, that's a huge upgrade. And then we still see what's happening with Ernest Jones, how he's developing. That makes that inside linebacker spot really nice for the Rams, really nice, and probably means that maybe they don't have to take one of those linebackers in the third round or the fourth round. Maybe they can look in the fifth to get some depth because Traven Howard is also back in house, so that the Rams go 3 deep at that spot. So all that is really good. It helps the run and everything. No, my issue with Bobby Wagner was age and contract. That and the salary cap. That was it. That was all it was. I think he, of course, has got a few more years, but this is a position, inside linebacker, that the Rams won a Super Bowl with the 104th pick in the draft last year, Ernest Jones. And they won this Super Bowl with Troy Reeder, an unsigned free agent. The interception that got them into the Super Bowl was Traven Howard, who's hardly played. So this position, again, by NFL standards, is not an expensive position. It's not a valued position. It's almost a position that, again, it's turning into a heavy safety. It really is. It's turning into a heavy safety. And so that was my argument for it, because I didn't want to spend 10, 11 rocks. Well, the Rams are giving him 10 rocks a year with the opportunity to push up to 65. But of course, in Les Snead fashion, he got Bobby Wagner. His cap hit this year, I think, is 6.5, I think, or is that what he's making this year? I didn't want to go too deep in it because I don't want to give off the impression I'm anti Bobby Wagner. This makes the Rams, of course, much better, deeper. And then you think what you get with Bobby Wagner, okay? He knows the Seahawks, right? He knows the 49ers. He knows the Cardinals. And there has not been a coaching change in the NFC West. Wow, I don't believe since Cliff Kingsbury came in 2019. I think that was the last coaching change. So these systems, these things the coaches have put in place, they're all there. And Bobby Wagner, of course, he's a Hall of Fame player. So yeah, of course it's a great move. I just didn't like, because of his age, the position. We won a Super Bowl without this position being great, and it was just the entanglement of what it does to the salary cap, because you love that flexibility. Of course, we get greedy as Ram fans now as we become more nuanced and see what the team is doing. You get a little greedy in terms of you want that flexibility when the trade deadline comes. You want that flexibility when there's an opportunity to make a move. And one of the things that I have fear with is that I am not a John Wolford believer for the long term. I think we've seen him come in and play one game, and we loved him. The Wolf was great, but I don't know if you could tell me they're sending in the Wolf and that's all you got to say. So yeah, I'd like flexibility to go out and get somebody, make a deal with a team that's down, just so if mid-season something should happen to Matthew Stafford, we're going to be okay. And I could be wrong on that. I was wrong on Wagner. So good for the Rams. Again, this lends us to believe that draft priorities will be edge, will be offensive line, will be corner, and I say that and because David Long's in his contract year. And we got to see if Robert Rochelle develops and stuff. And so again, I go back to this, and then I'm going to move on to some other NFL stuff. Is that the Rams' most critical part of the season, outside of actually kicking off the football and playing, is going to take place at the end of this month. About what is it, the 28th through the 30th. Rams start on the 29th. So 25 days from now, this is the most critical part of the Rams season. It's hitting on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds. On these 8 picks they have this year, it's the ability to hit on these picks that keeps this team relevant. And as long as this team is scoring in the draft, the contributors, and then that occasional Cooper Kupp in the 3rd round, or that that John Johnson outside of the first round, that these players who contribute, the more we pick up guys like this. Everyone's talking about, that Ram Bill is going to come due. That Ram Bill is going to come due. That Ram Bill is going to come due. No, that Bill's not going to come due. And this culture and what they're doing right now perpetuates itself. And so that's why we have to spend a lot of time talking about draft picks. Okay. And we'll do that more this week. Bruce Arians left Tampa Bay. Isn't that marvelous that there's shakeup with the Rams' one lone real threat in the NFC this year? You got to respect all the teams. You got to respect the NFC West. But honestly, right, we've looked at this. Who's the team to be feared? Basically, Green Bay sold their soul to Aaron Rodgers, and he's not going to let them out of purgatory. They're stuck, and they'll be a little bit above 500, maybe a 10-win team this year, because things aren't going to be sweet there unless they do some things because of that contract that Aaron Rodgers signed. And now everyone wants to go there. And then the other part is Dallas. You don't believe in Dallas. Seattle, okay, they're a division rival. Got to respect them. I don't really have any faith in Kyler Murray that he's a real threat. And then, of course, San Francisco, if they get the quarterback right, they're a threat. They will be a threat. They're well coached. They got a great roster. And if Trey Lance can develop, all right, we got a threat there. But really, the only legitimate threat in the NFC right now is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Bruce Arians stepped down and resigned, moving upstairs. And you could read into it, didn't get along with Brady, and they're saying all the good things to keep the peace. Okay, whatever. That's great. And it's really good. Todd Bowles got the job. I'm a Redskins fan. I saw Todd Bowles play and win a Super Bowl for the Redskins. So I'm all into Todd Bowles. And everyone that coaches the Jets should get a second chance in the NFL. But I'm really happy about Todd Bowles. The only narrative that I see, and I'm happy about Todd Bowles because Todd Bowles was the DC that couldn't keep the Rams off the board late, and Cooper Kupp slipped in because of that weird and funky blitz, non-blitz that allowed Cooper Kupp to go free and get behind everybody in that NFC playoff game. So that was Todd Bowles' defense. Okay, good. Let him be in charge. If I got one comment about it, and this is, I don't want to get into social commentary too much here. I got social opinions, but you're not clicking on here to see that. My only thing is that they're talking about what a great guy Bruce Arians is. He set it up so Todd Bowles could get the job. And if I'm wrong on this, I just, it sounds a little too much of the white savior complex, right? And the white savior complex is the Hollywood, or the narratives are that the African American is struggling, rightly so. They're struggling. We get it. We understand that. But the achievement is not necessarily their achievement. It's because some white person with a heart of gold, right? And I'm not even into this race stuff, but when I was watching 42, it was as much about Branch Rickey as it was about Jackie Robinson. When I saw Cry Freedom about Stephen Biko, who was fighting against apartheid, everyone's forgot about Stephen Biko, right? And he went on a hunger strike. It was all about the crusading white journalist who was there for him. And we see that a lot, Blackboard Jungle, the crusading white person that's in there into the inner city helping people. And it just, some of these things just reek of the white savior complex. And I don't know. I'm not overly sensitive to cultural issues, but I do see that. And good for Bruce Arians. He's got a friendship there and all that. But, I'm sick of the white savior. Good job. Great. I'm glad Todd Bowles got it. I'm glad Todd Bowles got it because he had to coach the Jets. And I'm also glad because we torched him in the playoffs. So good for us, right? Buffalo came to mind. Yeah, they got Von Miller. Great. But you know what Buffalo has done that's really smart? They're getting a new stadium. And I'm not even talking about the financing and who's paying taxpayers and all that kind of stuff. But you know what Buffalo's doing? Buffalo has made no plans in that frozen area that they live in, have made no plans to build a dome. Oh, so smart. because their advantage is that they play in the cold, that they play in the elements. And any team that plays in a climate controlled environment, any team is going to struggle going to Buffalo in January, right? And so Buffalo, instead of thinking about, oh man, we want to host Super Bowls. No, I think Buffalo is thinking, no, we want to play in Super Bowls. And there's a difference. Minnesota and Detroit went from playing in Super Bowls or wanting to play in the Super Bowl, because Detroit's never got there, to wanting to host Super Bowls. Great. You get to host Super Bowls. You get to see other teams come into your stadium and play in your stadium in February now. But you don't get to play because you lost this great advantage. New England was smart about this. Seattle is smart about this. Chicago has been smart about this. Green Bay, because they don't really have ownership, I think they've been smart about this. That tradition helps them stay in Lambeau. But Minnesota and Detroit, I don't know of any sports franchise, much like the Detroit Lions. They were mediocre when I was a kid. They dipped down really low. They've had some 2-14s, 0-16s, and all that kind of stuff. And they come back up for a little relevance, and then they drop back down. But they are the epitome of mediocrity. First football game I ever saw was Minnesota playing Detroit, and I believe it was late 1969, and I didn't know what was going on, but my brother was watching this game, and it was snowing, and there was just snow everywhere. And it was the first thing that kind of caught my attention. I said, man, it's like playing in the rain. Who didn't love to play in the rain? They're playing in the snow. How much fun is that? And it was a muddy field. I think they're playing in Tiger Stadium, and it was a muddy field, and it was just a mess and such. But about 5 years after that, the Lions in '70 made the playoffs, lost to Dallas. But 5 years later, they're playing in the Silverdome. What's been their record since playing in the Silverdome? Not very good. Minnesota went to Super Bowls in '69, '73, '74, and '76 after those seasons. And they haven't been back since. And they, in the early '80s, moved into the Metrodome. And they lost this home field advantage. When the Rams had to get their ship righted this year, I wasn't too worried about them going to Minnesota. But if this had been in the '70s, I would have been worried about going to Minnesota, because there was all that talk about the cold, and that cold had an effect. And they talked about when the sun would go down on the old Met and how cold it would be there. And it was a true advantage for the Vikings, for those purple people eaters. It was always an issue when the Rams went there in '74 and '76 in the playoffs. It was a big deal. And then they moved out. And they've never been back to a Super Bowl. I'm not saying they're not going to get to a Super Bowl, but that decision was, we want to host Super Bowls. We really don't want to play in Super Bowls. That's what I think it boiled down to, because of the revenue you get from hosting. But they haven't been back, have they? So plaudits to Buffalo for deciding to do a smart thing and go non-dome and everything. And so good for them. One of the other things that's been popping up all over the place, receivers, right? Tyreek Hill got traded. And how was that? Devontae Parker got traded from, Hill from Kansas City to Miami, Parker from Miami to New England. And of course, we've seen a lot of movement with the receivers, but here's something to think about. More and more talented players are coming out at receiver. We've talked about quarterbacks being more play ready when they come out because of all the 7-on-7s they've been doing since they were 12 or 13. They've had their coaches and their trainers, and they're ready to go. And so that old business, believe it or not, when I was a kid, is sometimes you had to wait 5 years for a quarterback to develop. Think about this, folks. Really, Kenny Stabler's name didn't come up till '72, and he was drafted by the Raiders in '67, right? And that kind of was the template. Bradshaw was drafted in '70, and he really didn't take over until about '74 and really truly lock it in. And he was their quarterback, but there was all that Terry Hanratty and Jefferson Street Joe Gilliam. So you saw this quite a bit. And that's why when Marino started in '83, it was a big deal. He came in mid-season, had the best rookie season I'd ever seen for a quarterback to that point. He came in and threw 20 touchdown passes, and it was like everything just clicked, and he was a rookie. And so we see that with the quarterbacks. They're ready to play. But also we're seeing that with the receivers. They're route running. They're incredible specimens and athletes. And 4.5 just doesn't cut it anymore. If a guy runs 4.4, 4.3, we're seeing incredible numbers, right? And so when your receiver gets a little too expensive, why don't you look to the draft? In the first 64 players drafted in the 2020 draft, okay, 13 of them were wide receivers, okay? Last year, the first 64 players drafted, 10 of them were wide receivers. 15 went in the first 96. That means the first 3 rounds. In 2022, 6 wide receivers are projected to go in the first round, possibly 11 out of 64. There are wide receivers available. Now, again, think about where the Rams got Cooper Kupp. They got him at number 3, okay, in the 3rd round. So wide receivers are plentiful. And this is the part when you start thinking about OBJ. I want OBJ back too. I really, really, really do. But you have to start thinking about these guys can be replaced. And I go back to this. You just need people to know how to draft them, scout them, and play them and develop them. Think what the Rams receiving core looked like before Sean McVay got there, right? Before that whole McVay-Snead marriage. In 2016, the Rams won 4 games their first year back in Los Angeles. And we were dealing with manos de piedra. Huh? We were dealing with hands of stone. Kenny Britt, Brian Quick, Tavon Austin. These guys couldn't catch a cold, right? I mean, these guys would be immune to COVID, right? They couldn't catch anything, right? I know, too soon, right? But it's true. They could not catch anything. And so within 1 year, Robert Woods was here. Cooper Kupp was drafted, and then Brandon Cooks came in, and then the Rams just made moves because they could evaluate the position better. And so don't fret about, again, it's hard to say because no one wants Cooper Kupp to go anywhere, and we didn't want Robert Woods to go anywhere. And we brought in Allen Robinson just now. But receivers are becoming so plentiful, and this is the last point I want to make, is as receivers become more plentiful and they're more able, that you're better able to recruit and bring one in, competent ones, right? Not break the bank ones. There's the break the bank types, right? And then there's the players who developed it like Robert Woods that you can win titles with, like Devontae, Parker and Devontae Adams and all those guys. These break the bank types, Tyreek Hill. But you can win Super Bowls, right, with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, who don't impress anybody in terms of their measurements and their speed and everything, but are just great receivers. And so as time goes on, what you're going to see with these receivers, I'm wondering, will the market deflate? Because yes, you need receivers, but I find out that every year there's another core of 10 to 13 coming in every year, that the market will become saturated, and I don't need to break the bank for a receiver. If someone wants to walk, they got to walk, which leads me back to the 49ers and Deebo Samuel. What is he? Is he a running back? Is he a wide receiver? And there was an argument the other day is that, he calls himself a wide back, but maybe he shouldn't argue that way. He should argue as a wide receiver because no one is paying for running backs anymore, are they? He's in the last year of his contract and he's making just under 4 rocks. And his market value is 18 a season for 5 years. And the Niners are a little cash strapped right now in terms of the salary cap. It makes you wonder what they're going to go do with Deebo because he's so versatile and so valuable. But man, you sign him to 5 years. And we talked about this when we first started doing the show. You talk about what Samuel does and the punishment he takes carrying that ball. And it seems like every year they end up relying on him. And he's a brilliant player. I love Deebo Samuel. But do you pay him like a running back? Do you pay him like a wide receiver? Or do you say, you know what, there's another dozen wide receivers coming out in 2023, 2024 that are ready to play, and we could use them and not get caught up in locking up our salary cap and hampering us. And the reason you bring that up is because Jimmy G is still a 49er. And I'm going to say this as a 49er fan, who I'm not, and as a Ram fan is what I am. But I think the 49ers, if I was a 49er fan, I'd say hold on to Jimmy G. Wait until he recovers and he's demonstrating. But you go with Trey Lance. Trey Lance gets all the reps. And if Trey Lance falls on his face, I don't think he's going to, but he's going to have some growing pains through midseason. You hang on to Jimmy G just in case he gets hurt. You hang on to Jimmy G. But the other aspect of it is, depending on what you want to do, right? Your roster's pretty good now. You got things you need to address. But if you hold on to Jimmy G and Trey Lance plays well and Jimmy G is healthy, don't you have a real more valuable asset by September, October next season than you do right now in April when a guy can't even throw the ball because he just had surgery? But if he goes to camp, and he makes throws and everyone sees that he's healthy, but you still commit to Trey Lance, that maybe his value goes up as some of these teams begin to struggle, as some of these teams begin to hurt, and they go, man, we need somebody, and they might overpay. I heard that the 49ers were asking for 2 second-round picks for Jimmy G. I wouldn't give them 2 second-round picks now. I'd give them a 5th round for a guy with a busted shoulder. But if he's back and he's rehabbed and he's healthy, maybe if I was desperate, Miami, and my quarterback got hurt, maybe if I'm in Baltimore and I'm desperate and my quarterback got hurt, although we kind of like their backup, if I'm in Washington, if I'm somewhere else, if I'm in Pittsburgh and my quarterback got hurt, yeah, I'll give up two second rounds for Jimmy G. Personally, I wouldn't, but teams will, and his value will go up. It hurts them this year because he's eaten so much of the salary cap. But I think the 49ers should hold on to him and see what they got. And unless something really brilliant comes in, I don't think they're in any rush unless there's some player they want to sign. But then again, all the first-tier free agents have already signed. And right now, you're just kind of like padding your roster. So wanted to throw that out there. And finally, when we talk about free agents, I wanted to talk about J.D. Clowney. J.D. Clowney is out there, and everyone's saying, oh, sign him, he'll be great. You know what? You could sign him, and he might be great because of the people he's going to be playing around, Bobby Wagner, Aaron Donald. On the back end, you got Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, man, he might have his best year ever. But, when a player bounces around from, Houston to Seattle to Tennessee to where's he at now? Cleveland. He's been everywhere. He's like Johnny Cash. He's been everywhere, man. He's been everywhere, and we're still waiting for that big breakout season. Yeah, if they can sign Clowney for dirt cheap, just like I was thinking when I talked about Bobby Wagner, great. Who wouldn't want J.D. Clowney? Yeah, he can play. Great edge player. But I don't know if you have to break the bank for J.D. Clowney. And no one else seems to be doing that either, right? So let it ride. And if he's interested in a ring at the age of 28, 29, he could still play. And it gets to May. Maybe he takes a lesser deal because no one's knocking down his door and is going to pay him an exorbitant rate to play the edge for them. But, the Rams could say, hey, come on aboard, come chase a ring. Bide your time. Rams schedule was released, and not J.D. Clowney. I'm looking at this. Rams schedule was released. I'm looking at my screen here. Out of practice, folks. I haven't done this for a week. There's some stiffs. Of course, we got the division rivals. We know those are always tough games. But then you got the Falcons, Panthers, Cowboys. Whatever. Not afraid. Saints. Whatever. Not afraid. But then you also got Buccaneers, Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers, Packers, Bills. Rams got easily, it seems to me, the toughest schedule in the NFL. People are talking Super Bowl about the Bucs. People are talking about Super Bowl about the Broncos. They always talk about that with the Chiefs. They're not saying that about the Raiders and Chargers. But the Packer game, while I think the Rams should win that game this year, but they're going back to Lambeau for the 3rd straight season. That's a pain in the neck. The Bills, however, are coming to SoFi. So we have to play Buffalo. But the good news is, guess where you play Buffalo? You play them climate-controlled in SoFi. And you're not going to have to play them in the playoffs up in Buffalo. And you're not going to have to play them in the Super Bowl in Buffalo either. So that's kind of good for the Rams. But just some things to keep in mind, how difficult the schedule is. Names that are propping up on the Rams draft board. I saw Jordan Tucker, a tackle from North Carolina. Zion McCallum, cornerback, Sam Houston State. He's one of the names that popped up this weekend. He, of course, he was a Senior Bowl participant. And then we're just seeing other names that keep coming in. I'll post the board tomorrow and everything. I think I went fast. I hope I did well. And I just want to remind you, my name is Joe Terosian, and I am a sports writer, and I'm also a pastor. I pastor a small church in Burbank, and I do this to kind of supplement my income. And I don't charge for this, but I do write books, and this is my most recent novel. It's an explicitly Christian novel called Sin Virus. You can find it on Amazon. This is my football book, Tangent Dreams. I wrote this several years ago. A lot of reviews on Amazon, did well. Take a look at it and support this, and I'd really appreciate that because this is how I supplement my income. You can follow me here. Please hit like and subscribe. JoeTerosian.com, where I have college hoops breakdown by Riley Saxon. I have the Arena Express written by Stephen Arena. And so we have things and options on joetarosian.com. I also post FanView and From the Ram Cave, as well as these vlogs, I guess they're called. And so we'll go from there, right? If you guys read my shirt, I'm a big fan of KHJ 93.1 KHJ. Cool. And again, thank you so much for the responses. My phone notifications kept I wish I had posted something that lit up as well as my notifications were for you folks saying to get better. And so thank you so much. And hopefully we'll keep going forward and talking Ram football. I will see you tomorrow. God bless.